In this video, I want to show you why you shouldn't use a normal spherical lens for your short film, but an anamorphic lens. So what's so special about these lenses? They have a lot of characteristics. These lenses come from an era where you wanted to get the image onto a kind of 35mm film or something larger or something smaller, and to save the space, because if you wanted to get a wider image, you would have to crop off the top and the bottom, but you didn't want to do that, right? So you wanted to use the full image, the full film for your image. So what did you do? You had to squeeze the image onto the film so you could use the whole film. And that's what anamorphic lenses were for, to really make the most out of the film that they had. Okay, so thing number one about these lenses is the lens distortion. As you can see, we have a different background now. So one of the interesting quirks of anamorphic is definitely that the borders are kind of like morphed, so they're not as clean as like most spherical lenses, but most people buy these lenses because of that. Back then, like in the era of like old anamorphic films, or in the era where most studios used these anamorphic lenses, these are things that they didn't really like, so that they didn't really want from it. They've seen it as kind of like errors of the production of the lens. So they really pushed forward to that like cleanliness and like perfect lens. And now in the new wave of like filmmakers, we've seen that anamorphic lenses just keep getting back. Sirui, whatever you call them, Blazar, Atlas lenses, they're all coming back because people seem to like these errors. People seem to like these mistakes because they give you character. They give you visuals that before you didn't really had access to in like the mid 2000s, because anamorphic lenses were mostly from like Panasonic or stuff like that. And yeah, they didn't really have access to that stuff because they only like rent them out. They rent out these cinema lenses, so no like normal consumer could get these lenses. But now we finally have these possibilities. Okay guys, so the sun just came out, and which is pretty good. Maybe you can already see what I mean, or what I was talking about earlier, that the like edges of the frame, especially in the corners, you can see that it's kind of morphing or like skewing with the image, which is a pretty interesting characteristic. So this brought some image errors with it, which is, for example, lens flare. I know lens flare is something people don't really think about as an image error, but back in the way it was definitely considered one, because that is the only option you had. Lens flare is something that kind of divides the film community. Some think it's pretty, some think it's rather ugly. I think it's pretty cool. It's had like a resurgence with J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies.
I have a reading. They've locked weapons on us.
Right alert. Torpedo locked on us at 320 degrees. Mark 2.
Armed up.
Permission to come on the bridge.
Dr. Marcus.
He's going to catch up with us, and when he does, the only thing that's going to stop him destroying this ship is me, so you have to let me talk to him.
Carol, we're at warp. He can't catch up with us.
Yeah.
And this is something that anamorphic can give you instead of spherical lenses. This is something that people sometimes add later on as like a visual effect. So they add these lens flares in the post-processing because they don't have an anamorphic lens, and they've used like a spherical lens in their production. So they kind of think, oh, I've seen these effects, I've seen these lens flares, I want to have them too. With this, you get it in the package, right? So this is the bokeh I was talking about earlier. It's highlights from lights or other light sources, and these can become an interesting shape. And the special thing is that in spherical lenses, they become a sphere. And in anamorphic lenses, an ellipse. And this is something, again, very characteristic for anamorphic lenses and something you will see in older movies. And this is, I think this just enhances the overall feel of anamorphic lenses, which I kind of miss in indie productions these days. Every indie film I see looks so clean, it looks so perfect that it looks boring again. And I kind of miss this unperfect look of these lenses. And yeah, I feel like this is becoming more and more relevant because these lenses, as I've already said, Surrey, Atlas, whatever lenses they are, and obviously this one, Blazar, they're coming back, and they're coming back cheap. This does something very special to these lenses, which is democratization. And when I thought about this, the sudden availability of anamorphic lenses, it reminded me of something that Francis Ford Coppola, the director of Godfather and Apocalypse Now, talked about in an interview.
To me, the great hope is that now these little 8mm video recorders and stuff are coming around. Some just people who normally wouldn't make movies are going to be making them, and suddenly one day some little fat girl in Ohio is going to be the new Mozart, and make a beautiful film with her little father's camera recorder. And for once, the so-called professionalism about movies will be destroyed forever, and it'll really become an art form. That's my opinion.
Django, have you always been alone? Django,